Wow, that's a loaded question. The short version is I was doing plays at my high school, and a woman who was a casting director, I'm from New York City, so I was in Manhattan, which is kind of ground zero for casting. And so a woman named Juliet Taylor, who is a casting director, came into my school basically to recruit people. And I was doing school plays at the time, so she had me read for a movie. And I came close, but I didn't get it. And then she called me back maybe a couple of months later, and I came really close to getting it and didn't get it. And finally she said to me, you know, maybe, because I was about 17, 18 at the time, she said, you know, you might want to try and do this, you know, for a living. And I said, well, I'm going to need to get more auditions, you know, because I'm coming close, but I'm not. Maybe if I got like 5 or 6 auditions, I could actually book something. She said, well, why don't you get an agent and you'll get more auditions? And I said, well, what's an agent? She said, well, that's somebody who gets you auditions. I said, oh, okay. Well, that sounds good. Well, how do you go about getting an agent? She goes, well, for most people, it's a very difficult process, but for you, if you let me speak to your mom first. And she spoke to my mom and got permission. She goes, I'm just going to call a few people and you just sit tight and they'll call you. So I didn't realize it at the time, but I had 3 best agents in New York call me and say, why don't you come in and we'll talk about things and see if you'd like to do something. So I met these 3 agents, and then I basically picked the one that I liked the most. So the next thing I know, I had an agent and booked my first job in 30 days and my first movie in 10 months. And the next thing I knew, I was just acting my entire life. So it kind of fell into my lap. It was exciting, and it was fun, and it was exhausting and tiring and stressful and everything you could imagine it would be for a 19-year-old young man who'd never been out of New York, going to California by himself for 4 months, living by himself, couldn't drive, right? Typical Manhattan boy, no license. And yeah, so it was kind of like sudden impact. It was just an amazing, mind-blowing experience. You know, it probably took me a year to process everything that actually had happened or was happening to me, maybe even longer. I don't know. It was all just kind of like a big blur. You know, I see some of them from time to time. I certainly see Cory sometimes at things like this, like conventions, and we chat on Twitter, because I'm on Twitter at ZWGman. See, I just threw that in there so you can go and follow me on Twitter if you're watching this for whatever reason. And yeah, so occasionally, you know, it's difficult because I'm in New York and a lot of people are in Los Angeles. So, you know, I probably don't keep up with them as much as I'd like. Did have props from it, and this is pre-eBay. So I didn't realize how valuable that they might have eventually had been. So I had the chewed baseball bat from the fight with the chainsaw with the Gremlins for the first one. And I had the sword that I cut the Gremlin head off with from the first one as well. And I would do conventions and guest appearances at places like this. And I would bring them as props, you know, because people would like to hold them and take pictures with them. And on both occasions, on 2 separate occasions, I ran into people who were physically disabled in wheelchairs. And on, as luck would have it, on 2 occasions, they would say, wow, that sword's awesome. Could I have it? And I went, yeah, sure. So I gave both of them away to people who probably are enjoying them a lot more than me, probably in the early 90s. And so there you go. So I had them, but I gave them away. Well, you know, the chair is a really interesting project. It's a really good script and based on a really good graphic novel and stuff like that. You know, we'll see what's going to happen in terms of funding. Funding is always very tricky for these independent films. But if it gets, you know, funded and made, I don't have any scenes with Naomi. In fact, she has scenes with nobody. She just has flashbacks with the mom, and so it's her and 2 kids. But yeah, I got a bunch of scenes with Mr. Roberts, so looking forward to that, should it come eventually to fruition. Sure, I can say that it is definite that they're going to reboot it. I can say definitely that Spielberg is involved with it. It looks as if Chris Columbus is involved with it as well. They're writing the script as we speak. And as to whether or not there's going to be any participation of myself involved, I won't know until the script is entirely done. I mean, I could see anything from me being the guy who walks by and says, hey, what's that thing? And points to the Mogwai and doing a little one-line cameo. Or I could also see playing the teacher or the sheriff or, you know what I mean, some other part in the reboot. So basically, that's all I can tell you right now, but I can tell you that Spielberg's put it on the fast track, and I think he wants to have it out. My guess would be like Christmas or 16 or summer 17, something like that, within the next 2 years. What does Crypticon mean to me? It means an all-expenses-paid trip to Seattle, which is one of my favorite cities. Chance to go and celebrate my beloved Seahawks winning their first championship. One of the strangest things about me is I've been a Seahawks fan since '79. People in New York are like, the Seahawks? What? The amount of abuse and explanations I've had to give for my Seahawk love over the last 34 years has just been unbelievable. So when they finally won this year, it was just such sweet vindication. And in such devastating, humiliating fashion. It was just so fantastic. So I had to kind of come and just soak in it. Because, you know, I'm like the only person who wears a Super Bowl champion's sweat, you know, hoodie in Manhattan, pretty much. There's actually a Seahawks bar, believe it or not, sports bar, called Carlo East at 83rd and Lexington, which is about 6 blocks away from my house. So whenever I usually watch them at the games at home, but whenever I get, you know, a Jones to be around fellow Seahawks fans, I just kind of lope on up to Lexington Avenue and hang out with the boys and some women too. So it's great. That's what Crypticon means to me. Just trip to Seattle.